Hello and welcome to another episode of Hessy and Maven. I'm Justin.
I'm Raven.
And it's still Halloween, so we're dressing up again.
And I'm a Dalmatian.
And I'm Raven.
Uh-huh.
I don't... What color is your hair right now? You change it all the time. Brown?
It's close.
Black it is.
Yeah.
Also, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to take these false eyelashes off because they keep hitting the insides of your glasses and getting caught, and I feel insane.
I have to be really strategic when I wear falsies because if they're too big, then I can't wear glasses.
Ow. Oh, God. Yep. Wow, so much better. Instantly better.
Do you like that fog that just popped up on the glasses?
I feel great. The costume's going well. It was worth the 5-second payoff of getting very little reaction from Raven. I really thought that it was going to get a big reaction. Got a very small reaction. She was like, "Can I come upstairs?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can come upstairs." And then I was like, I looked at her and I said, "I'm you." And her response was, "I'm you." And I was like, "What?" Crazy.
My face is so tight right now.
Oh, dude, you look like an old man because all of the little wrinkles in the paint.
Uh-huh.
But
it feels crazy.
You're a good boy.
I am.
I love it. Okay. Well, let's get started.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, it's Halloween month still. Last week, we talked about our favorite Halloween movies, and instead of going into, like, our least favorite Halloween movies or something like that, you know, a lot of people associate Halloween with scary stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Haunted houses, haunted hayrides, haunted asylums, scary movies, that kind of stuff. Not us.
No,
I mean, I associate them. I get the reference, but
I will say I do like the occasional haunted in-person thing. Like, Tony and I did a couple years in a row Bates Motel in some random town in Pennsylvania. And it's like a haunted hayride, haunted maze, and haunted house. And that is fun. Because it's fun to be like with friends, like hooked arms, kind of like cowering and like being brave and laughing, and everyone gets scared, and it's
interesting.
I think it's a good time, but I don't enjoy scary movies.
Really?
I don't. Yeah. If I'm like home in bed, I don't want the tension.
Yeah.
I need to be in the right time and place for the apprehension, the tense feeling in where my shoulders are like this.
Yeah, a little bit of anxiety.
And that's at a place, not at home.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What about, let me paint a scenario for you. Middle of the day, windows are open, bright light shining through, you're with friends, you can be together and cower together. Would you watch a scary movie?
I think I would, but I probably wouldn't choose it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'd rather do something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it is, so yeah, I'm not a big scary movie person, never have been, and in preparation for this episode, I did a little self-exploring, trying to figure out why that was. Why don't I like scary movies at all? As I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I can see some scary things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I saw the second It movie in theaters.
Now, I remember when you took interest in it, and I thought it was strange.
It was strange.
For you.
It was strange. The first one was against my will at my friend Nick's bachelor party, and it was not a very normal bachelor party. It was very like...
We're in the house watching a movie?
Just a bunch of dudes doing dude things, but not like the stereotypical, like we didn't go to a single strip club or something like that. We just drank a lot. We went paintballing, whitewater rafting, went to a brewery. It was like that.
You went whitewater rafting?
Yeah.
I would not do that.
Oh, it was fun.
Or go paintballing.
Paintballing was a mistake only because we were hungover.
I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
But only for a little bit, very short. Yeah. And you have so much adrenaline going that it kind of like doesn't even phase you.
It feels like something where if we played when I was little, I would cry.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
And tell on you to death.
It does hurt, but it's not like that bad.
Yeah. Do you remember the recreation station?
I absolutely remember the recreation station.
And you and all your friends would play laser tag?
Play laser tag?
And I didn't play laser tag because I thought it was scary.
You thought laser tag was scary?
Yeah, that's really reminded me of paintball. Anyway, that's a deep cut to our childhood.
That's really funny. Yeah, the recreation station was good. I remember playing indoor soccer there. I remember people having birthday parties there.
A lot of birthday parties.
There was a weird stand where you could buy sports cards.
Oh.
Like trading cards, but like sports people. And me and Matt Ford were being into that for a little bit, for a small stretch of time.
Cute.
But yeah, so I was first thinking, what is a scary movie? Like, what constitutes, where do you draw the line in what is considered a scary movie to you? Because obviously there's like horror as like a film genre. But there are other things, like when I was doing research and looking up just like horror movies, like top 10 horror movies or whatever, there were a lot on the list that I was like, oh, I've seen that. Like, I love that movie.
Like what?
Like The Shining.
Oh.
Like I recognize that The Shining, starring Jack Nicholson in a hotel. Here's Johnny. And he, what does he say? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And he tries to kill his wife and kid. And it's scary. It's definitely got some horror elements. It's got one or two pop outs maybe. But for the most part, like, I was into it. It's so interesting because, like, you know how I hate music people who are like, oh no, that's not EDM, that's trance. And it's like, calm down. It's electronic. That's enough. I feel similarly when it comes to like movies because I'm like, I don't really care too much about dissecting genres.
Yeah.
However, some of these I would consider like thrillers or like psychological thrillers or like this kind of, there is tension and yeah, I guess there are scary parts, but it was just interesting going through the list and being like, like if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, which last week we talked about why Rotten Tomatoes is an unreliable source, but just to get a list, right? Number 6 top horror best horror movies of all time, air quotes. Number 6 is King Kong from 1933.
Oh. 1933, I mean, they were probably scared of everything.
Number 11, 1935, Bride of Frankenstein. Jaws is on the list.
Yeah. The Blob.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That's what I said.
There's a couple that I was just like, huh. Like, the Aliens movies? With Sigourney Weaver. They're on the list.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, I get it. But, like, so I was just curious, like, when you're seeing trailers for a movie or you're considering a movie or not considering a movie or whatever it is, where do you draw the line with? I know that it's a little like amorphous and it's kind of like case by case.
Yeah.
But do you have any idea of like where you would draw the line for like what you would consider a scary movie that you're like, that's a scary movie, I don't want to watch that, versus one that you would maybe be like, think about it?
I don't know, because I feel like it really comes down to vibes. Like when you're watching trailers, like movie trailers, you can just tell when it's a movie meant to scare you. Like a movie meant for jump scares and tension and not just like, I don't know, not just like Aliens with Sigourney Weaver. Like,
right.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I
kind of agree. I think it's hard to define, but yeah, I agree. It's like, it depends on like exactly like what the vibe is. Is this a movie that is going to be full of jump scares and I'm going to walk away like, and they're going to be like, how was the movie? And I'm going to be like, scary. Yeah. And I'm not going to be like, it was a good movie. That happened to scare me also. Yeah. Like, I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like most scary movies, not all, most scary movies are like not good. Like, they're not like good movies.
Right. And the rewatchability is almost zero. Like when it comes to scary
yeah.
movies. Because the point is that you don't know what's coming.
Exactly.
And it's like, I think you're just watching for the experience of the type of thing.
Yeah.
So like, unless you're rewatching it with someone who's never seen it, in which case you're just going to be watching them the whole time, which I find to be annoying. But, I don't know. But I saw one time I was in the theaters for I forget what, and one of the trailers that played was that movie where they're like in a secluded house and there's like people on the outside with like scary bag masks over their heads.
Okay.
Or like scary face covering masks. I think it's called like Strangers or The Strangers. Or
I think I know what you're talking about.
something. And that trailer horrified me. I was like, because one of my biggest fears is like being alone at night and like at Daddy's house, he has the sliding glass door in the back.
Yeah.
Like I used to have the biggest anxiety about just like looking out that back window and seeing a face.
For sure.
So like anything about
home intrusion kind of stuff.
Home intrusion stuff is like huge.
That's how my friend Megan is.
On my like top fears. So anything where there's like they're like, someone's outside. Like, nope, not for me. Too scary. Way too scary.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I get that.
I think it's like anything. I think it's so subjective because it's anything that plays on what scares you.
True. Because there are plenty of people who see movies that I would consider terrifying, and they're like, "No, it wasn't scary at all. I wasn't scared at all." And you're just like, "How? How are you not scared?" Because like I've gotten really good. It's ironic that I don't ever watch scary movies, and I don't know if it's because like I watch a lot of movies or like maybe it's like heightened senses because of that fear level. I often feel like I can tell when the scary thing is going to happen. You know what I mean? Like when I saw It Chapter 2, I think is what the full title is. When I saw that in theaters, I knew exactly when the pop-ups were coming. Like there's a part where a little girl goes under the bleachers and of course there's Pennywise and Pennywise is like has a candle or something like that and it's like the girl's birthday. I totally forget like why he has a candle. But he has like a candle or a lighter or something. And he's like counting down with her to blow out the candle. And of course then he like eats her or whatever. But like it was just like very obvious that it was gonna be like 1 2 and it was just like and this is when I shield my eyes and I look away and you hear the whole theater just go and then you're like, all right, now I can look again. I mean, obviously directors have gotten better at it and stuff like that, but like because there are some times like during a TV show where I'm like into the like ooh and I'm like okay with it. And I like actually enjoy it a little bit because once you release it, then then you feel good. You know what I mean? Like you have this adrenaline boost. And I just think it's really interesting. So I was actually like did a little bit of research before this to see why would anybody like scary movies? Like, why are they popular? Why do people like being scared? I don't understand haunted houses and stuff like that. There's not a freaking chance in hell I will ever do a haunted house, haunted hayride. Never, never, never. But some people really love it and it's a huge industry.
I think there's something to be said for like safely being scared. Like you know that what's happening to you isn't real danger. So it like gives you this is like way deep, but it like gives you this space to like be scared, but like you know nothing bad is going to happen.
That's true.
Versus like I'm scared for my life scared.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
I don't know.
Definitely.
What you said is real, but
no, it absolutely is because there's something in the study, or rather, it was an article that compiled stuff from studies, but like they refer to it as recreational fear. So it's you're being afraid, but it's for fun. Yeah, and you have everything from like adrenaline junkies and stuff like that, people that they refer to as white knucklers, which obviously I know that you're like holding on to something so tight. Dark copers, people who cope with dark things, I guess. I'm not really sure. But yeah, the idea was that like they've done brain imaging studies on people who watch horror movies, and it activates the very similar parts of your brain, if not the same parts of your brain, that would react if those situations were real. Because your brain can't like 100% tell the difference. So like your amygdala, your prefrontal cortex, your insula, all are lighting up as if the danger were real. But then after that rush, most people feel an elevated mood. So it has to do with getting all these different things from like adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol being pushed through your system because you're going into like a fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And then when the threat subsides, now you have all this other like hormones running through your body, and it can like almost like feel good in a weird way. And then you also have a lot of people who like, it is almost like from like an evolutionary standpoint, it's almost like, because you think about like playing peekaboo with a baby is like an infant version of a jump scare, right? Like, oh,
okay,
my peekaboo, and you're like, oh, like obviously no one's doing that in the thoughts of like, I'm trying to scare this baby,
right?
But like, it's a very soft version of like a jump scare. And the idea is that from like an evolutionary standpoint, it's almost like challenging fears and getting used to fear. And that way, if God forbid a real fear were to happen, you're a little bit more prepared. And it's just like, you kind of have a better idea of what to do.
Yeah.
And they even did studies right when like the pandemic hit. One study found that like people who were fans of horror were more resilient to the sudden change when quarantine hit. Just because they're like used to fear.
Oh, not me.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
I went downhill fast.
Yeah.
Down like the Titanic.
I thrived during quarantine big time. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's like a bell curve, because you can have like not enough, you know, where if you're like a horror fan and you go into a movie and you're like, that wasn't scary at all, then you're kind of like bummed.
Yeah.
Then you have like your sweet spot, like that spot in the middle where you're like, that was perfect. It was scary. It got my blood flowing. It got my heart beating, but it wasn't too scary. And then there's like too much where you're like, I'm going to have nightmares for days.
Yeah.
I feel terrible. I do not feel good. And I've heard a lot of that about that with like foreign horror films, especially like Korean and Japanese horror films.
Being
I've heard
like nightmare fuel,
being like really, really intense. Yeah. I have not had the misfortune to fall into that trap. The only one I would even consider, and it's considered horror, but also like a little bit not horror. I don't know, like zombie movies for me, like sometimes can be horror, and sometimes I just feel like are almost like a weird, darker version of like an action movie. You know what I mean? Like it depends. There's some that are horror, and some that I'm just like, yeah, this is like an adventure. They're just trying to get away from these zombies. Yeah. You know, it's like it depends on what the zombies are like. Yeah. And like where they are and stuff. But there's a one called Train to Busan. That is by a specific director that I believe he also did like Parasite and stuff like that I would see.
Cinema Joe has definitely talked about that.
A lot of people have, and that's why it's like on my list of like, I'll allow it. I'll let that one slide by. But without further ado, let's get into some trivia. So I looked up a little bit of trivia on 5 trivia questions on horror movies. Okay. Now, if you're a big fan of horror, some of these are going to be very easy for you. Keep in mind, Raven and we don't do horror. So bear with us. All right. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Question number 1. What is the species of alien called in Aliens? A, necromorph, B, xenomorph, or C, neomorph? Bum, 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 bum.
Xenomorph?
That is correct.
I feel like I've heard that before.
I wanted to start off with an easy one. I thought that was
I've never seen that movie, but I have heard that name before.
Yeah.
Or maybe just in the zeitgeist. I don't know.
Pretty much. Yeah. That big, you know, the black scaled, has like the weird head that goes back, has like a mouth that comes out of his mouth, and
I think
very
it
like
appeared in the Great Movie
insectoid-looking.
Ride.
It did. It did appear in the Great Movie Ride. Great recall. Yeah, I've never seen the Aliens movies. I know that the first one is Alien, the second one is Aliens, and then they've made a couple past that. But
okay,
I remember watching. Tony and I both are big fans of it. What is it called? Oh God, Prometheus.
Oh,
have you heard of it?
Yes, never seen it.
Prometheus is like an offshoot of a Xenomorph movie.
Oh, sounds like a Power
with
Rangers
Michael
monster.
Fassbender. Prometheus or Xenomorph?
Xenomorph.
Xenomorph sounds so much like a Power Ranger thing. Okay, question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
What film features an evil child named Damien? Is it A, The Omen, B, Child's Play, or C, The Exorcist? Bum, 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 bum.
What are the first 2 options?
A, The Omen, B, Child's Play, or C, The Exorcist?
The Omen?
That is correct. The Omen.
I thought for sure that it was The Sixth Sense, and then you didn't say The Sixth Sense, and I was like, okay.
Okay.
Plan B.
Very funny. Yeah, I've never seen The Omen, but I do know that it's about like the son of the devil, and his name is Damien.
Okay.
I also know that in Sixth Sense by M. Night Shyamalan, that little boy is not evil.
Oh.
Haley Joel Osment or whatever that little boy's name is.
Oh.
The actor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the actor's name.
Okay. M. Night Shyamalan, as he's all over the map.
He certainly is. And he honestly, he can do what he wants as long as it's never touch a piece of IP that I give a shit about.
Mm-hmm.
Because after what he did with The Last Airbender, I will never forgive him a day in his life. I don't give a shit what excuses he tries to make up with how he ruined that movie, but garbage. Absolute garbage.
The Village was good, though.
I've heard. See, like, The Village. Scary movie? In my head, here's the funny thing, too. Sometimes you see, like, a trailer for a movie, and you just have it in your head of, like, I'm going to put that in my brain palace. That goes in the scary movie column. And then it just lives there.
I put it in the scary movie column.
Okay.
But it's a scary movie that I can tolerate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I find this to be really interesting. Like, which scary movies you're like, okay, I'll do this one, but this one I won't. You know what I mean? Like, I find that to be so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3. What horror movie was originally titled Scary Movie? Is it A, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, B, Cabin in the Woods, or C, Scream? Bum, 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 bum.
Scream?
That is correct. It was Scream that was originally titled Scary Movie. Now, for some horror fans, you're doing really good.
Yeah.
For some horror fans, that will be an incredibly easy question, even if they don't know that little piece of behind the scenes knowledge, because spoiler alerts for people who have never seen Scream, myself included, but I know enough about it. That movie, I think, is really interesting, and I'm like really into at least the first one. As soon as you do a 5th and a 6th, fucking get the hell out of here. I don't give a shit. But anyway, the first Scream, it was very like meta. So like the killer, the ghost face guy, there's 2 of them. But anyway, again, spoilers. It's like they know that they're not that they know that they're in a scary movie, but it's like the characters like watch a lot of scary movies. So like there's scenes where like Drew Barrymore's character or something will like answer the phone, and she's like, "Oh, I'm home alone," and the killer's like, "Don't you know you shouldn't tell like the person on the phone that you're home alone? Like that happens in all the scary movie. Like the whole, you know, like, oh, don't split up and don't go investigate that sound." Like
I think that's why
killers use that against the people.
I think that's why I've never wanted to see that movie, because I can never tell if it's like comedy or horror. Because I've seen like different clips and it's like, what is this? Like, it's the way they talk, it feels like a parody almost.
Right.
And I have no interest in parodies. But I do like that TikTok sound where she says, "Don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel."
Yeah, I think that there's also a lot of overlap between horror and comedy, because it's a lot of kind of like, it's very subjective. Like what you find funny and what you find scary, very subjective. It's also very like guttural, like you're not necessarily controlling it. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have to laugh, it just freaking comes out. And it's the same with like screaming or being afraid or something like that. So I think that there's a lot of overlap there, because a lot of, I think, horror movies use humor to kind of cut the tension a lot. Like the It movies had so much humor, and it was really good. It never felt like it took away from the fact that it was a scary movie. It was just like, yeah, this makes sense, because like if you're going through this terrible situation, like it makes sense that you're gonna crack a joke every once in a while to be like, geez, guys, at what point, you know what I mean? Otherwise it's like just such a downer. And it's like, God, there's no brevity to this, and it just gets so heavy. Okay, question number 4. Who slowly turns into a fly in the 1986 version of The Fly? Was it A, Tom Hanks, B, Jeff Goldblum, or C, Vincent D'Onofrio?
1986?
That is correct. Bum, 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 bum.
Is it C?
Vincent D'Onofrio? Incorrect, I'm afraid.
Oh, who is it?
B, Jeff Goldblum.
That's random.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum.
I would never see any movie about a bug.
I wouldn't see this movie because I have a really serious aversion to body horror.
Oh.
I really don't like seeing stuff like that. It skeeves me out. Because what happens is, it's one of those really stereotypical kind of like, maybe at the time it wasn't. I mean, this is like a remake, the one with Jeff Goldblum. It's been made before that, which is why it specifies the year. But like, it's one of those things where he has like, I forget what it is, maybe like a teleporter or something, and like he goes in one and like a fly accidentally flies into the other one. So when they teleport, he like gets fly DNA, and throughout the thing slowly starts turning into a fly. And eventually, I mean, think of the late 80s, so it's like practical makeup / FX.
Prime time for special effects.
Like, yeah. And it's just like so gross.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Just like him being half fly, half person is like so disgusting, and it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Not for me. Like, it would be an interesting like book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with doing it like theater of the mind, but like I don't want to see it.
I don't even like that Pokemon that has veins.
Oh yeah,
that
those
holds
weird like
the lumber.
Yeah, no, I hate that. That's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Cronkosaurus or something. I hate him. Okay, here's an interesting one that I didn't know, and this will be. I've seen this movie once, and I haven't seen it in forever, so I don't know how much this comes up in the movie. This might be a pretty challenging one. For Raven, it's going to be a shot in the dark.
Okay.
What is the name of the demon that possessed Reagan? I think that's how you pronounce that. What is the name of the demon that possessed Reagan in The Exorcist? A, Pazuzu, B, Focalar, or D, Moloch?
Pazuzu.
Bum, 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 bum. You are correct. It was Pazuzu.
I actually knew that one.
Really? How did you know that?
I don't know. Just
what do you mean?
Through the grapevine.
Through the grapevine, you've heard of Pazuzu, and you've been like, Pazuzu. Everyone knows that.
I think just like I don't know, the things I've watched, like BuzzFeed Unsolved and like kind of spooky stuff,
Really?
like they've talked about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of BuzzFeed Unsolved.
I also was taken to the movies by one of our dad's girlfriends to see The Exorcist.
What a nightmare. Which girlfriend?
Sandy.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Tony was there.
Tony loves Sandy, so. Anyway.
Wait, can I tell you a funny sidebar?
We're done with trivia, so now it's time to talk about scary movies. Sidebar is welcome.
Sidebar, one time, sorry, Daddy, but one time, Daddy and Sandy, I think we're like getting into a little bit of a tiff, and me and Alyssa were in the living room, and Sandy wanted to like distract us from the tiff, so she like put us on separate corners of the couch and did like the face mask with the cucumber circles.
Oh.
And was just like, just relax. And we were just like this with the cucumber circles while they were arguing in the background. And we're like, what do we do?
That's so funny. You can still hear them.
Still hear them. I don't know why she did that. Me and Alyssa think about that a lot.
Yeah. So many of them.
Anyway.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to talk about some of my earliest memories with scary movies. Start thinking about your earliest memories with scary movies. Okay? Okay. So, have you ever heard of the movie from 1989 called Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland?
No.
It is a nightmare. It is an animated movie. Here's the plot. A young boy whose dreams transcend reality is sucked into his own fantasy, which is everything he has dreamed of until he unleashes a century-old secret that may not only destroy this perfect dream world, but reality itself.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. We had it on VHS. I watched it once or twice as a kid. And it is a freaking nightmare. And it feels like a fever dream. Like there was a long, maybe decade of my life where I was like, that's not real.
Is
that
it
never
for
happened.
Kids?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a kids movie. It's a terrifying kids movie because it's so scary. It like the slumber land is fine, you know, a little weird and like creepy weird, you know, but then like you're kind of like, all right, I guess I can get behind some of this stuff. And then it just, as soon as he figures out the whole, like, there's like the nightmare world or whatever, because if there's dreams, then there's nightmares. And then he meets the Nightmare King and this weird darkness ooze stuff. And he's on a flying bed. And there are these little green-skinned creatures that I think are referred to as goblins and stuff. And a couple of them perish, I think. I don't remember. It's been so long. That has seared itself into my memory as nightmare fuel.
Wow.
So scary.
First time I can ever remember, like if I really go far back, the first time I can remember watching something and being like, I don't like this part, this is scary, is probably Heffalumps and Woozles.
Oh, really?
I used to hate that.
Wow.
Because it got like dark. It got like black was the background, and then the Heffalumps and Woozles would come out, and it was like the like it was like
I know. I wish I could remember the exact
scary. And I remember being like, I hate this part. I hate this part. I hate the Heffalumps and Woozles.
Oh man.
Yeah, I remember being scared of that, but like I really avoided scary stuff until like high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was peer pressured. Except at Tony's house when I was bullied.
Typical. Typical Colonels.
I think that probably goes back to why that's like on the low why I don't like scary movies, because I like it was never fun for me. It was always just like I'm being bullied into this.
Ugh.
And now it's like that's where my brain goes. It's like any horror movie is like I'm being forced into watching this, and I don't want to.
Yeah. Like
I remember literally sitting at Tony's kitchen table on Daddy Street, and it being like 9 a.m, and we woke up after a sleepover, and Tony and Leanna putting on The Ring,
Oh, God.
And me being like, I don't want to watch this. And Leanna being like, well, what are you, a baby? Are you going to cry? And then me just having to sit at the table and like throw out brainwaves to mommy being like, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up.
Oh, God.
Because I couldn't text her. So it was just suffer.
Yeah, I hate that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my other memories are Night on Bald Mountain, the last cartoon in Fantasia.
Oh, Chernobog?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, the god of evil or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I used to shut the movie off before that would come on because it would scare me that much.
Mm-hmm. That part's scary.
I remember finally watching it, like getting to a certain age and being like, it's time to face Chernobog.
Yeah, I can do this now.
And yeah, he gets beaten by the sun. I never knew because you never watch it, so you never know.
Mm-hmm.
By the end, he gets defeated and then it starts playing Ave Maria.
Ave. Yeah,
exactly that one. Some other quick hits. Nick Panell's house. Once again, Nick Panell always forced me to watch horror movies. Piece of shit.
Very Leanna of him.
Ugh. It was his birthday. What's today? The 6th? Yesterday was the 5th, I think. By the time we're recording this, I mean. It was his birthday on the 5th. Anyway.
Okay.
He made me watch The Poltergeist. And I think I got through 10 minutes of it before being like, I'm not watching this.
Is Poltergeist with Zelda Rubinstein?
Couldn't tell you a single fucking thing about it.
I think it's...
All I know is that Poltergeist is a ghost.
I think it's Zelda Rubinstein.
It could be anybody.
Can you Google her?
I don't know who that is.
Me and Tony love her, and I think she's in Poltergeist.
Do you want me to... Okay.
Zelda Rubinstein. She's stout, if you will.
Yes, Zelda Rubinstein. Okay. Yeah. She plays a woman named Tangina. She plays a woman named Tangina. That's all you need to know.
I think Tony likes Poltergeist, but I don't know. I just know he likes Zelda Rubinstein.
She does look very familiar. She looks incredibly familiar.
She's really cute. Give it a goog if you've never seen her.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. See, this
I think she passed away recently. R.I.P. Is that her in Poltergeist?
No. It was just, of all the pictures, that was the one I wanted to show you.
She's really cute.
So, yeah. Poltergeist was one that I left. I don't think I left his house. I did end up leaving his house that night, but it was like while we were trying to go to sleep, I was already having nightmares and was like, time to call mom. Time to creep into my friend's mom's room, wake her up, and get picked up. Because this is a nightmare. I hate this.
I remember having to do that. It sucked.
And then a different time at Tim Smith's house, we had watched a movie called Tremors. Another like not
I've heard of that
movie. Like it's more specifically, I think it was Tremors 3.
Is it giant worms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're giant like sandworms in the desert, and it's a bunch of rednecks trying to figure it out. And
Alaskan bullworms.
Yes. And and we watched that and then watched something else, and I just remember having nightmares. Like I just remember having nightmares about tremors chasing me.
Scary.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. And I think I just hit a certain point when it was like even as a little kid, just putting it together of being like, when I watch scary movies, I have terrible nightmares and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like it's all bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing good comes of this.
Yeah.
So like, let's just stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. It was just, I'm swearing off scary movies forever. I know myself. I'm self-aware enough to know that like this never leads to something good.
Yeah. It always leads to nightmares, which is the worst.
And I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I just stopped watching scary movies altogether until middle school, where, you know, talking to girls, hanging out with friends, feeling a little bit older, maybe it's time to re-explore. Mistake. Because what happens is, in 8th grade, 2004, we ignore that. My stomach just grumbled. We, as like almost the entire class, like The Grudge is coming out. It's premiere night. We're at AMC theaters. All of 8th grade goes to see The Grudge.
In my head, The Grudge and The Ring are the same. They might as well. I can't differentiate them in my head.
They might as well be the same.
They both have scary girl, long black hair.
I, to this day, could not tell you what The Grudge is about.
Okay. I don't know either.
Because I've never cared to look it up, and I never saw it.
Okay.
Because went to the movie theaters with Nick. Nick, I gotta fuck you, man. What the hell, dude? Always sabotage me with these. How many stories have I told already? Jesus. Anyway, Nick Panel thinks he knows so much about me. Clearly, we're not very good friends, because why does he keep dragging me to all these scary fucking movies? Anyway, me and Nick, and like I said, almost the entire freaking 8th grade class go to see The Grudge in theaters. It was PG-13, so you could do that. Regrets from the get-go. But there we are. We're sitting in the movie theater. I'm looking around the theater. Everyone's there. Everyone that I know. Kyle Freeland's there. Steve Figueroa is there. Matt Forf is there. Everybody, aisles and aisles and aisles of Central kids. Now, me and Nick, I don't know how this happened. We're sitting next to some older girls. They're freshmen in high school, I'm pretty sure. Feeling pretty good. In the first 2 minutes of the movie, before there's even a pop-up, somehow I have attained this girl's sweatshirt. I proceed to bury my face in said sweatshirt, and I keep doing that for a while. Because the movie starts with like a weird little intro part, unrelated. Don't worry about it. Then we cut to Japan. There's a Japanese cleaning woman. She's like a maid. She's cleaning the house. Here's weird noise. Goes into the rooms trying to find the weird noise. The whole time you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no. And I'm like, like try like out of the corner of my eye, I'm watching the screen.
Your periffs.
My periffs. And then she goes up into a closet, and then in the closet there's like an attic thing. I'm thinking about how scary my night is going to be, knowing that there's an attic thing in my bedroom. Forget about it. Okay. And as soon as it is clear that she is going to go up, I shield. Yeah. With the girl's sweatshirt. It smells like Britney Spears perfume. And I hide. And the entire audience screams. Not like yeah. No, like yeah. Like blood curdling screams. And I reveal my face, hand the girl her sweatshirt, and out loud I go, I have to go to the bathroom. And I stand up and I go to the bathroom. I'm sitting in the lobby for what feels like 20 minutes because no cell phones. What a nightmare that was. Feel too embarrassed to ask the movie theater to borrow their phone or something. So I'm just sitting there being like, what do I do? Kyle Freeland comes out and I'm like, dude, you're out here too? And he's like, that movie's so scary. And I was like, I know, right? And just feeling instant camaraderie. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then, as luck would have it, Taylor DePaulo is at the movie theaters with her family seeing Christmas with the Cranks. And I say, hey, Taylor, can you drive me home? And she goes, of course. And her family knows me and just being like, yay. Yeah. But then I have to tell Nick. Oh. Because what is Nick going to do? Nick is my ride. Mrs. Pantel is how I'm getting home. So I have to go back into the theater. Yep. Nick is in a about the middle aisle.
So this move.
It's a lot of psst, psst, Nick. Psst, psst, Nick. Nick, I got a ride. Taylor's driving me home. And again, all Central kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget who it was. I think it might have been Steven Figueroa. I don't know why this memory is so burned into my head where I can remember like what movie Taylor's family was seeing with such accuracy. Like I'm 100% positive it was Christmas with the Cranks. But like I think he said like, "What are you leaving?" Or somebody said something kind of snarky, not
smart alecky,
but a little smart alecky. Yes, exactly. And I responded with like something kind of like self-deprecating but equally snarky in tone.
Okay.
Where it was like, "What do you want me to do? You want me to pee my pants all over this theater?" Yeah. And it got a big laugh, and I was off the hook.
There you go.
Went into school the next time school was, and no one gave me shit for it. Not a single person gave me shit for walking out of the garage.
Because you're a jokester.
Because I'm a jokester. Humor is how I've gotten by. I've Chandler Binged my way through life.
Yeah.
I've Chandler Bing too close to the sun though before. That's dangerous. That's bad.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to Chandler Bing at my job because a lot of old people can't hear. So if they don't hear your Chandler Bing comment the first time, it immediately loses steam, and you're just like, never mind. Have a nice
just
day.
Like repeat yourself. Can it be any more human out? What? Never mind.
Yep.
Forget it. Speaking of which, we posted a video recently of our trivia questions from last week's episode, and there was the one where I kept saying Spider-Man, and I was saying it obviously like as a joke, but somebody commented on it on YouTube and talked about how Chandler Bing has a quote where he's like, "It's not Spider-Man. It's not like his last name is Spider-Man."
Yeah, that is in a Friends episode. Yeah,
that was very funny.
Phoebe says something like, "How do you know it's not his last name?" It's like, it's not Steve Spider-Man. It's funny.
Very funny. So yeah, that was The Grudge in 8th grade. And then my good pal, Max Loth. What did you do?
You're sabotaging me with metal bars.
Raven, are you breaking my desk again?
Okay.
So then my good pal, at least I thought he was, my good pal Max Loth.
Where's he nowadays?
Has a birthday party. You know, it's a great question. I really wish I knew. I've always liked Max Loth. He's always been a really good person. Last time I saw him was unfortunately at a funeral. It's one of those sad, like, where you see somebody and you're like, man, it's great to see. I mean, shitty circumstances, but it's great to see. You
just doing that. Sad. You saying last time I saw him was at a funeral. It gave the same energy as that clip where the white woman and the black woman are introducing themselves.
Oh, God.
And she's like, "Hi, I'm Ashley." And she's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Sandra." And she's like, "Oh, Sandra is whatever, my aunt's name." And she's like, "I was named after my grandma, who's a slave."
She goes, "Oh, sorry. Sorry." Or just like everybody being like, "Happy birthday." Like, Uncle Ted has passed. Jesus, Grandpa. So yeah, Max Loth was having a birthday party at his house in Seaside Heights, and there was a bunch of us there. It was like one of those parties where it's really just like a big sleepover, and I think we were gonna camp in his backyard and all this stuff. But it was like probably like 10 to 15 of us. Like it was a lot of boys. And what does the birthday boy want to do?
Watch a horror movie?
He wants to watch scary movies. So we watch not one, 2 scary movies. I sit through the first one, and then during the second one, get up and go, "No more." And I go and sit on the family computer, and I log into AOL Instant Messenger, and I talk to girls all night while the boys watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I couldn't frickin' do that movie.
Mm-mm.
There was not a chance in hell.
What was the first one?
Jeepers Creepers 2. The sequel to Jeepers Creepers, which I've never seen. Jeepers Creepers 2 is like this. Came out in 2003. Same as this version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of which there has been many reiterations. But both of the movies that we watched, I'm wondering if it happened during that year, because they both came out in the same year. So I thought that was interesting when I was looking this stuff up. But anyway, Jeepers Creepers 2 is like, there's this old, like, evil bat-like demon thing that's been alive forever and eats people, but is like slumbers and goes dormant and then like is awoken and is like feeding and must eat a bunch of humans or whatever. And of course, in the very beginning of the movie, he wakes up and you're like, oh no. So the whole movie is like, there's a school bus of cheerleaders and school people. I'm trying to think if it's just like sports people, because I think it's like cheerleaders and like a football team or something, like some sports team, and then like the teachers and or whoever's on board, and they're on a school bus and they're driving on this like long solo road, and there is just like fields. It's in like middle America, like there's nothing, and this freaking monster pops the tires by using like what essentially are ninja stars. They're like scarier, but they're like ninja stars. Pops the tires, that way the bus has to stop, and then he like picks them off one by one, and that's the whole movie, is like them fighting the thing and whatever. Terrifying. Every single time I'm on a long dark road, like driving down Route 70 at night, it pops into my head, because of course before the monster like popped the tires, there are like parts where like a kid is like looking out the window and like you think you see it for a second and you're like So it freaks me out every time I'm on a long dark road. I'm like,
really spooky.
What if my tires get popped by a monster?
Oh my god.
So scary.
Have you seen that movie Cabin in the Woods?
No.
I think that's the movie of this story. One time I had a date come over and we were deciding on what movie to watch. I wanted to watch a good movie and he wanted to watch Cabin in the Woods. And so that's what we watched. And
I hate that for you.
Do you ever like not like think a lot of someone, but like you'll see someone, you're like, oh my god, like that person is beautiful. Like they're probably like so smart and they dress so well and like everything about them is like so nice and beautiful.
Yeah.
And then like you find out that South Park is their favorite show and you're like, whoa.
Oh.
My whole opinion of you has changed.
Yeah.
Like the way that this guy laughed and enjoyed Cabin in the Woods while I was watching it, like with this face. Like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I don't know if that's a parody movie, but I remember it being like lots of weird jokes and also scary. I don't remember.
Because I just typed in Cabin in the Woods and it says 2011 science fiction comedy horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I hated every minute of it.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
I would also hate that so much.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy being scared.
It's weird though, because you've never seen The Village?
No.
The Village, I was surprised that I liked. It's like the acting is really good. It's got Joaquin Phoenix.
I love.
It's got the actress who plays the really mean girl from The Help.
Okay.
The redhead.
Yep.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yes.
And the guy
She's very good.
who plays
She's
the
very
pianist.
Adrian Brody.
I
love Adrian Brody.
Yeah, it's got all of them.
Oof.
And the acting is really good. And it's really not scary until like the very end. So you go through a lot of like getting invested in the characters and like what's happening, and then at the end it's scary. So for me, it felt like worth it.
Yeah.
It's not like just scary the whole time where you're like, fuck this movie, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like,
yeah, like what is the point of this?
But yeah, I did think The Village was pretty good. The only other scary movie I think I've seen that I did like was The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, really?
Because it's based on a true story. So the whole time I was watching it, I kept thinking about how this was based on a true story, and it felt like a history lesson. Like learning about this person and what happened to her, and the fact that what was going on with her was like so bizarre that they did an exorcism.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like stuff like or listened to like recordings, because they do like audio recordings of people during exorcisms
with Ryan and Shane?
They do an episode about some person.
Yeah.
I think this Exorcism of Emily Rose is based on the person that they do the episode on.
Yeah.
But the recordings of her are
very
unreal.
Creepy.
Like
very creepy, especially from somebody who like, I mean, like I kind of fall in the same thing as Shane, where like I genuinely don't believe in exorcisms. I don't believe in demonic possession. I think all of that is bullshit. I think most of the time it's mental health, and then there might be other stuff. But like, it is incredibly eerie.
I think it's scary. Yeah,
those recordings are crazy.
I don't like to listen to them.
They're very creepy. I wrote down actually some scary movies that I sort of enjoy.
Okay.
So you got It and It Chapter 2. I've mentioned those. I really, really like them. I just think that the director did a great job. I think the casting is all great, from the kids to the adults. Crushed it. I think that the humor mixed in made it so that I could like the whole like it's a marathon, not a sprint kind of thing. It allowed me to like sit through a 2-hour scary movie. Do you know what I mean? If there was no humor, I think at some point I would have been like frazzled out or like burnt out, you know? But I thought they did a great job. Love them both. I've only seen one of Jordan Peele's scary movies, and that is Nope. It's a little scary. I mean, there are definitely like parts that are scary, but like for the most part, I don't even think that I would consider it in my criteria of scary movie. I loved it. I thought it was really, really interesting and well made, and like a cool twist on things. I was really into it. Then there's some old school stuff like The Shining, Psycho. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Psycho, Jaws, only because I saw it on that list. Jaws is another one. Like I don't even know if I would really consider Psycho like a horror movie. Like it definitely has like aspects. There might be like one or two pop outs, but like for the most part, I just don't even think of it as like
it's that horror scary of a movie. For the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely plays a part in it.
Yeah.
Like it's more like, psychological thriller kind of thing. But anyway, I liked it a lot. I love Psycho. And The Shining and Jaws. And then I wrote down, and this was me going off of that like huge list of 200 best horror things. So if they called it horror, I was like, whatever, I'll put it on the list. I also included like Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, I've never seen that.
It's very good. And then
what's the movie with the fog and the alarm?
The Mist?
No.
What alarm? What are you talking about?
It's like I can remember, it just popped into my head as like a flashback of like they're in like a weird town, and like the fog comes, and when the fog comes, like the tornado alarm goes off in the town, and then they all run into the one building to stay there until the alarm stops.
It feels like you're talking about the movie The Mist.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up after.
Are they all inside of like a gas station or grocery store or something like that?
I thought it was
and
a church. In my head, it's a church.
Okay, in my head, it's a grocery store.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Do some of them go out into the fog and then like never come back?
I don't remember.
Okay, you're no help.
I know. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
And then I just wrote down, there's like a series of zombie movies, and or there's at least 2 of them. I don't know if they made any more, but it was like 28 Days Later.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And then 28 Weeks Later.
Yep.
Both of those were awesome. Cillian Murphy was in the first one.
Love him.
And then the second one was really, really good also. I was super into both of them. I actually really enjoyed them.
Okay.
And then like, then there's like I haven't seen all of them, but there's the Cloverfield movies.
John Goodman.
I wrote down that one specifically. So I saw Cloverfield in theaters.
Really?
And it's like the shaky cam. Yeah, it was like a monster movie. Like I was like, that's not a scary movie to me. Like a gigantic kaiju, like Godzilla or something. Like that's not a scary movie.
I didn't know that that's what that was about.
Spoilers. Yeah.
Silent Hill is the movie that I was thinking of just now.
Oh, couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
Yeah, Silent Hill used to is based off a video game, and it's a video game that I will never play.
Yeah, I seen blips of that
fuck
movie,
with
and I
that.
remember being horrified.
Yeah, I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with Resident Evil. None of that shit.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Cloverfield.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the first one is really interesting because it's just like at a party, like a New Year's party, and there's a guy videotaping. He's like, "Oh, it's a New Year's," and he's just like videotaping, and the whole thing is through his camera. Is the how you're viewing the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as if they like found this camera and they're trying to figure out like what happened. And then like alarms start going off and like TV is like, there's an emergency, everyone needs to evacuate the city and blah blah. I think it's in Manhattan and or at least in New York. And then it definitely is actually, because one of the earlier scenes is like them all leaving the apartment. They're in the streets, and then like what you eventually find out is the monster throws the head of the Statue of Liberty, and it comes flying through and like crashes through a building and hits the ground, and you just see that it's like the head of Statue of Liberty, and it's like Jesus Christ. And then you see a couple encounters with the monster, but then the monster, scariest part is not the kaiju, it's the monster like dropping smaller monsters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That was the scariest part.
No.
And it was just a crazy movie, but it was really good. If you're into like shaky cam or whatever it's called, that like amateur
Blair
cam.
Witch.
Yeah, because it can get a little disorienting.
I wouldn't like that.
You know what I mean? Like when it shakes
dizzy.
around.
Yeah.
Dad, so would Dad. But then 10 Cloverfield Lane took that same like universe, so it's like set in the same thing. It starts with the girl who plays Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I think it's the same actress. I really do, but whatever. And she gets into a car accident or something like that, and then when she wakes up, she's in John Goodman's basement, and it's like a storm shelter, and he is very interesting. John Goodman, I think, in this movie shows just how, not that he hasn't done it before or in other movies or anything like that, but for some reason in this movie, man, does he show his range as an actor, because he comes across so like, there's like, it's like the whole time, even in the very beginning when he's like good, spoilers, it very much is like, you can just tell that there's like something off. You know what I mean? Like you just have hairs on the back of your neck every time he's like describing something. He's like, you remind me of Hannah. And you're like, who's Hannah? Hannah is dead. He killed Hannah. What's going on? Like you just know. And then it also features another actor who was in The Newsroom. And I don't know his name, and I've never seen him in anything else, but I remember being like, hey, he's from The Newsroom. I love that. He plays like Jim or whatever, like the young guy. Anyway. But yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane was amazing.
The way you're describing John Goodman is how I felt about Stanley Tucci in The Lovely Bones.
Oh, exactly.
Lovely Bones, not a horror movie. I think a psychological thriller.
Yeah, kind
of mystery. But I remember feeling scared the first time I watched it. Yeah. Because of the creepiness.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Prisoners?
No.
Have you heard of it?
No.
With Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. and Paul Dano?
No.
Okay. Sometimes when you answer questions, there's so much attitude behind it. Like, I'm stupid for asking. The way you just said no honestly insults me. You just went, no. Like, you couldn't be bothered to even think for an iota of a second. How dare you?
I'm
the
sorry.
Disrespect.
It was just like, have you ever heard of this movie? No. With these actors? No. But this movie? No. Like, no, I've never heard of it.
All right. Well, you don't have to be a jerk about it. Jeez.
I didn't mean to be.
Well, that's how it came across.
Sorry.
Here's the last question and we'll end on this.
Okay.
Is there a scary movie, air quotes, that you're kind of like, I kind of do want to see that? Or maybe you're just like so curious that you're like, I kind of do want to see that. If all of the stars aligned in the right way, I would see this movie and I do want to see it. Like, it's kind of on a list.
Split?
Really?
Is that the name of that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Good answer.
I love James McAvoy.
So do I.
I've heard good things about the movie. It looks interesting. Probably won't watch it because it's scary, but...
See, that one doesn't seem scary to me. That one seems like a psychological thriller. That would be kind of easy to sit through.
Oh, it seems scary
for me.
to me.
But
Black Phone also seemed interesting. That had an interesting trailer.
that was one for me that I was like, this looks good.
But I won't watch that.
I kind of do want to see that one. I think it's on one of the services. There's too many services. I mean, like, as much as I'm anti-capitalism and like against monopolies and stuff, sometimes I want there to just be one streaming service. Do you know what I mean? It's so annoying.
Like cable.
When there's one.
When it was just cable.
Yeah, it's so annoying sometimes when you're like on TikTok and you see a clip of a show and you're like, what is this show? It looks dope. And then you go into the comments, you find those 15 people who are like, what show is this?
And they're like, oh, it's this show available only on Peacock. And you're like,
well, I'm not getting Peacock. Well, never mind. Or the worst is when it's like, hey, it's on this streaming service that you have, but only in the UK or something. And you're like, what?
It was so cool when I went to Australia and my Netflix updated to Netflix Australia and I got access to everything on Netflix Australia.
Seriously?
And I downloaded a ton of stuff. And then when I got here, I checked and all of my downloads said expired.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah,
there's a way to
let me have it.
your computer. We'll look it up.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
For legal reasons, we're not going to do that because
we won't look it
we're
up.
in America. Anyway, gang. So that's just our experience with scary movies. I've felt like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I felt like it should have been discussed. Like scary movies. Like we owed it to scary movies.
It's a cornerstone of spooky time.
It is. So that's why we wanted to talk about it. And I do think scary movies are really interesting. And like, I'm always curious. Like there's a lot. So every once in a while, a trailer comes out for a movie and I like hit up that one friend who loves them. And I'm like, you need to see this and we need to talk about it. Cause I do want to know what happens.
Yeah. I don't want to watch it.
I just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
But I am curious what happens.
Yeah.
Like they did a really scary version of Superman where it was like a little kid, you know, like the story of Superman. He's like an alien who crash lands on Earth. And like the reason he has his powers is because he's an alien. And then like this sweet family finds him and like raises him as his own. And that's Clark Kent and the Kent family, blah, blah, blah. Superman. Well, it was like, what if he's evil? So then it's like a little kid crash lands on this planet. A family adopts him and finds him. They're like farmers in Kansas. But then the kid is like one of those childhood psychopaths.
Oh.
But has superpowers.
Wow.
So like I've seen clips and stuff and it's like so creepy where like the kid is just like has like drawings in his notebook of like terrible things or like has like literally laser beams and super strength and you're like, what do you, and there's a scene where the dad like is starting to be like, we got to get rid of this kid.
Yeah.
And like, I think the dad actually like shoots him in the back of the head.
Oh my God.
But like the bullet bounces off because he's Superman.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
yikes.
That was a movie that I was like, I'll never see this, but I'm so curious.
Yeah. Did you ever see Room?
No, but I do actually want to see that one.
That's not a horror movie that I would say, but the amount of stress you feel while watching it, like, makes you feel like afraid.
You've seen it, or?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watched it.
It's with
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. God, you keep cutting me short.
But you're right. I know exactly who you're thinking of, and that's who's in it.
And she's in it. Brie Larson.
Yes.
Yes.
And that boy who I think won an Oscar.
I think the movie won a couple Oscars. Did really well.
Yeah.
Kresu.
Yep.
Kresu room. Anyway, so gang, remember, this is Hessy and Maven. We're the podcast, but also we have a YouTube, we have a TikTok, we have an Instagram, and we have an email address, hessyandmaven@gmail.com. So find us on all the things. Follow us on all the things. Comment, subscribe, follow, do whatever you got to do on all of the things, because that helps us grow. That helps us put out more content, and we can keep getting better and better and better and better. But more specifically, let us know about your scary movie proclivities. Do you like scary movies? Do you not like scary movies? Do you only watch them during the day? What's the last scary movie you saw? Do you like scary movies? Is there any scary movies that you've seen that you're like, this is legitimately a good movie? Let us know. I'm very curious to hear from people who do like scary movies. I find it fascinating because I hate them. And that's all for this week. So thanks so much for listening to this episode of Hessy and Maven. Tune in next time where we'll talk about something else.
Bye. Bye.